Aunt Emma, can I show you something? 8-year-old Lily whispered, tugging at my sleeve while I folded laundry in her room. Her big brown eyes were serious, lacking their usual sparkle. I set down the half-folded towel and gave her my full attention. Of course, sweetie. What is it? Lily glanced nervously at her bedroom door before tiptoeing to her closet. She pushed aside a pile of stuffed animals and reached deep into the corner, pulling out a weathered shoebox decorated with faded butterfly stickers. Mommy doesn't know I found this, she said softly, clutching the box to her chest. She was crying one night and looking at it. When she went to get tissues, I saw where she hid it. My heart tightened. Sarah, my sister-in-law, had been different lately, withdrawn, quick to anger, constantly watching her phone. When she called earlier asking me to watch Lily for the evening, her voice had that familiar edge of desperation. I miss Daddy, Lily continued, her lower lip trembling. Mommy says he's just busy with work, but she held out the box. I think this is why he really left. I hesitated, torn between respecting Sarah's privacy and understanding what was troubling my niece. But looking at Lily's pleading face, I knew I couldn't brush this off. She needed someone to talk to, someone to help make sense of a world that had suddenly shifted. With gentle hands, I took the box and sat on Lily's bed, patting the space beside me. She crawled up, her small body pressing against my side as I carefully lifted the lid. Inside, layered with old tissue paper, was a collection of memories that made my breath catch. Photos of Sarah with a man I didn't recognize, taken over what looked like several years. Movie ticket stubs, handwritten notes, even a small dried rose. But what caught my eye was a stack of letters held together with a faded ribbon. "Who is this man with your mom?" I asked softly, though my stomach was already nodding with suspicion. "That's Uncle James," Lily said. "He used to come to my birthday parties before Daddy started working late all the time. Mommy said he was an old friend from college." My hands trembled as I picked up the bundle of letters. The most recent was dated just 2 months ago, right around the time my brother Mike started traveling for work more frequently. I didn't need to read them to understand what they meant. The evidence of Sarah's relationship with this James was clear, documented in photographs and mementos spanning years. "Lily, honey," I started, but she cut me off. "I heard Mommy talking to him on the phone last week. She was crying and saying she was sorry, that she never meant for any of this to happen." Lily's voice cracked. "Is that why Daddy doesn't come home anymore? Because of Mommy's friend?" I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. How do you explain something like this to an 8-year-old? How do you protect their innocence while being honest about the complexities of adult relationships? "Sometimes," I said carefully, "grown-ups make mistakes that hurt the people they love. It doesn't mean they stop loving you, but it can make things complicated." Lily sniffled. "But why did Mommy keep all this stuff? Why does she look at it and cry?" I thought about Sarah, about the woman who'd been part of our family for 10 years. Despite our differences, I'd always believed she loved my brother. Now, looking at the evidence of her deception, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Not just for Mike, but for Lily, caught in the middle of adult choices she couldn't understand. "Your mom is probably feeling very sorry about some choices she made," I explained gently. "Sometimes people hold on to things that remind them of their mistakes because they're trying to figure out how to make things right." Just then, we heard the front door open. Sarah's voice called up the stairs. "Lily? Emma? I'm home early." Lily's eyes widened in panic. I quickly helped her return everything to the box exactly as we'd found it, tucking it back into its hiding spot in the closet. As footsteps approached the bedroom, I picked up the forgotten laundry and resumed folding, trying to calm my racing heart. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her designer outfit slightly rumpled, her eyes tired but bright with forced cheerfulness. "Thanks so much for watching her, Emma. I hope she wasn't any trouble." I looked at my sister-in-law, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't noticed before. Guilt. It was there in the way she couldn't quite meet my eyes, in how her smile didn't reach its corners. "No trouble at all," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "We just had some good Aunt Niece time, didn't we, Lily?" Lily nodded, running to hug her mother. As Sarah embraced her daughter, I saw tears threatening to spill from her eyes. She knew what she stood to lose. The question was, what would she do about it? Walking to my car later, I couldn't shake the weight of what I'd discovered. My brother's marriage, my niece's happiness, our entire family's stability, all of it balanced on the secrets in that butterfly-covered shoebox. I pulled out my phone, staring at Mike's number on the screen. Should I tell him what I knew? Would it help anything at this point, or would it just cause more pain? As I sat in my car, watching the lights go out in Lily's bedroom, I knew one thing for certain. Something had to change, and soon. The next few days were a blur of sleepless nights and internal debates. Every time my phone rang, I jumped, wondering if it was Mike calling to say he discovered everything on his own. But he remained oblivious, sending our family group chat pictures from his business trips, lonely hotel rooms, and room service dinners. I couldn't stop thinking about Lily's face when she showed me that box, the hurt and confusion in her eyes. She deserved better than this web of lies. A week after discovering the box, Sarah unexpectedly showed up at my house. I opened the door to find her standing there, mascara slightly smudged, clutching her designer purse like a shield. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please." I stepped aside to let her in, leading her to my kitchen where a half-empty cup of coffee sat on the counter. Sarah perched on a bar stool, her perfectly manicured fingers drumming nervously on her purse. "Lily told me," she said suddenly, making me freeze. "She told me you saw the box." I turned to face her, crossing my arms. "Were you ever going to tell Mike?" Sarah's face crumpled. "I've tried. God, Emma, I've tried so many times. But every time I start to say the words, I think about Lily, about our family, about everything I'll destroy." "Everything you've already destroyed," I corrected gently. "Sarah, this isn't just going to go away." "I know," she whispered, tears now flowing freely. "James and I. It started years ago, before Mike began working so much. We were just friends at first, catching up over coffee, reminiscing about college. But then you started keeping mementos in a box that your daughter found." I finished, unable to keep the edge from my voice. Sarah flinched. "I ended it. 2 months ago when Mike started pulling away, I realized what I was risking. I told James it was over, that I chose my family. But you kept the box." "Because I needed to remember," she said, her voice strengthening slightly. "Remember how close I came to losing everything. Remember why I'm fighting so hard now to fix things." I sat down across from her, studying the woman who'd been my sister-in-law for a decade. "Mike's not really on business trips, is he?" She shook her head, fresh tears spilling. "He says he needs space. That he feels like we're strangers living in the same house. He doesn't know about James, but he knows something's wrong. I'm losing him, Emma, and I don't know how to fix it." "You start with the truth," I said firmly. "All of it." "He'll never forgive me." "Maybe not." I agreed. "But right now, you're letting him believe he's the problem, that his long hours and emotional distance caused this. That's not fair, Sarah." She buried her face in her hands. "I know, but Lily is already hurting." I cut in. "She found your box, remember? She thinks she knows why her daddy doesn't come home anymore. Is that better than the truth?" Sarah looked up, startled. "She thinks. Oh God." Fresh sobs racked her body. "I've messed up everything." I got up and poured her a glass of water, my anger softening slightly at her genuine distress. "Yes, you have. But you can still choose how this ends." "What do you mean?" "Mike comes home this weekend," I said. "You can either tell him everything yourself, or you will," she finished quietly. I nodded. "I love my brother, Sarah, and I love Lily. They both deserve the truth, even if it hurts." Sarah took a shaky breath, squaring her shoulders. Will you be there when I tell him?" "Not in the room, but maybe just in the house." "For Lily?" The request surprised me, but looking at her, really looking at her, I saw something I hadn't expected: determination. She wasn't asking me to help her hide anymore. She was asking for support in doing the right thing. "Okay," I said softly, "but Sarah, no more boxes, no more secrets." She nodded, standing up on unsteady legs. "Thank you, Emma, not for keeping my secret, but for making me face it." As I watched her drive away, I prayed we were doing the right thing. The weekend loomed ahead, promising to change our family forever. I just hoped we'd all be strong enough to handle what came next. That night, I called Mike. "Hey, big brother. When you get back this weekend, maybe Lily could spend Saturday with me, give you and Sarah some time to talk." There was a long pause on the other end. "That obvious, huh? That you two need to talk?" "Yeah." He sighed heavily. "Thanks, Em. I'll let Sarah know. As I hung up, I looked at the photo on my wall. Our whole family at last Christmas, everyone smiling, no one knowing what lay ahead. Sometimes I realize you have to break something completely to build it back stronger. The truth was coming, ready or not. Saturday arrived with a weight of anticipation. I picked up Lily early, her small backpack packed with activities and her favorite stuffed giraffe. Sarah hugged her tighter than usual, whispering "I love you" multiple times before letting go. Mike arrived shortly after we left, his car pulling into the driveway as Lily and I turned the corner. I caught a glimpse of him in my rearview mirror, shoulders tense, jaw set, looking more tired than I'd ever seen him. "Can we get ice cream?" Lily asked from the back seat, pulling me from my thoughts. "Of course, sweetie. We can do whatever you want today." We spent the morning at the park, had lunch at her favorite pizza place, and got ice cream sundaes with extra sprinkles. I tried to keep her distracted, but I could tell she sensed something was different. Children always know more than we think they do. "Aunt Emma," she said quietly as we sat on a bench, watching ducks in the pond. "Are Mommy and Daddy going to get divorced?" My heart clenched. "I don't know, honey. But no matter what happens, they both love you very much." "Is it because of the box?" I turned to face her, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big mistakes that hurt people they love. But admitting those mistakes and trying to fix them, that takes courage. Like when I broke Mommy's favorite vase and told her the truth instead of blaming the cat. Despite everything, I smiled. Something like that, just bigger. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "It's done. He knows everything." Another message followed quickly. "He's angry. Hurt. But he's still here. We're talking." I released a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. They were talking. It wasn't much, but it was something. Hours later, as the sun began to set, another text came. "Can you bring Lily home? We need to talk to her together." When we arrived, the house was quiet. Mike and Sarah sat on the couch, both looking exhausted but somehow lighter, like people who'd finally put down a heavy burden they'd been carrying too long. "Come here, princess," Mike said, patting the space between them. As Lily settled between her parents, I stepped back toward the door. This was their moment as a family, but Sarah's voice stopped me. "Stay, Emma, please. You're part of this too." What followed was one of the hardest but most honest conversations I'd ever witnessed. Sarah explained to Lily about her mistakes, about hiding things in boxes instead of facing them. Mike talked about running away to hotel rooms instead of staying to fix things. "Are you getting divorced?" Lily asked again, her small voice trembling. Mike and Sarah exchanged a look I couldn't quite read. "No, sweetheart," Mike said finally. "We're not getting divorced. But things are going to be different for a while." "Your daddy's going to move back home," Sarah added. "And we're both going to talk to someone who helps families work through hard times. Together." "And the box?" Lily asked. Sarah took a deep breath. "The box is gone. I burned it this morning. No more secrets." Lily nodded solemnly, then did something that brought tears to my eyes. She took both her parents' hands and joined them together over her lap. That night, as I drove home, I thought about boxes, not just Sarah's physical box of secrets, but all the emotional boxes we keep. The ones where we store our hurts, our mistakes, our fears. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is open them, face what's inside, and then let them go. 6 months later, our family gathered for Thanksgiving. Mike and Sarah had moved forward slowly, rebuilding trust day by day. They went to counseling, both together and separately. Mike started working less, coming home for dinner more. Sarah focused on being present, on rebuilding not just her marriage, but her relationship with Lily. As we sat around the table, Lily proudly showed everyone the new box she'd made in art class. This one was covered in glitter and held happy memories, ticket stubs from family movie nights, photos of ice cream dates with both parents, drawings of all of us together. "No more secret boxes," she announced, making Sarah tear up and Mike squeeze her hand. Looking at them, I realized that sometimes the happiest endings aren't perfect endings. They're messy and complicated and require hard work. But they're real, and that makes them beautiful. The truth might be painful, but it's also the foundation of healing. And watching my brother's family rebuild, stronger and more honest than before, I knew that some boxes are worth opening, some secrets worth telling, and some mistakes worth facing, especially when love is at stake.